Hello and welcome to Athlantic, the show where an American and a Brit take turns crossing the pond to learn about sports in the UK and the USA. I'm Harry Collins, your resident Brit.
And I'm Adam Jordan, your resident American, and North Carolinian, if you couldn't tell, because I got two maps, and you can't see it behind me, but I have a map of London. So
And
I am obsessed with the UK while also loving my state.
weirdly, I have two maps of the US. It's to other people it's embarrassing, but to us, Adam, it's endearing. How are you doing this week?
Yeah, it couldn't be more perfect. I am doing okay. Everybody's kind of on edge right now because the election's happening.
Sure.
You may be shocked to know that. But yeah, so that's been heavy on the mind for everybody. But it's sports are a nice distraction, and it is a great time for sports right now across the world.
What you couldn't have said it better. What an incredible weekend we had. Plenty going on your side of the Atlantic, plenty going on my side of the Atlantic. And today we're actually going to discuss a topic that I hope sort of bonds those two antipoles as well as you and I do when we're going to talk about bat and ball games. One
bat
of
and ball games. Also, and what a perfect time to do that, given that we are in what we're tentatively naming the solstice right now.
Yeah,
the
of course.
Atlantic solstice.
So
we are in the liminal space. Yeah, go ahead. Feel free to explain.
This is something that we've Adam and I have actually shared for ever since I studied at UNC. We realized that the UK and the US changed their clocks on completely different weeks. So every year we get 2 weeks where we are closer together temporally, but not obviously not spatially. And it's just this, we just feel each other like a little bit closer. You coined this great term. Yeah, great point. We get to record an episode in, what are we calling it? The
solstice.
The Atlantic solstice.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, I think that works.
We'll do that. The payoff for the Atlantic solstice in the autumn, unfortunately, it's been dark since about 3:00 in the UK. So this is the only thing. This and American sports were the only thing carrying me through last weekend. Now on TikTok. If you don't know, we have a TikTok. We do a weekly sports headline roundup among discussing more topical things. So we don't make a big point of talking about news in the regular podcast, but we actually wanted to talk about 2 points this week, and we're going to cover them quickly. Number one, we had the Ballon d'Or ceremony where the men's and women's Ballon d'Or were awarded to the best players in the world. And what was really interesting this time in soccer, I thought by proxy it means the best athlete. No, obviously not. Yeah, you're completely right. The best footballers, the best soccer players in the world. And while the reliability of the Ballon d'Or picking the best player is sometimes scrutinized, it's always a really good way of interrogating how we think about football at those times. And for the last 20 years, they've been dominated by Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, who put up these crazy numbers. And this year, it was won by a defensive midfielder who plays not a water-carrying role, but like a far less flashy and showing off role. And what's crazy is both the men's and women's player of the year effectively are both sort of more defensive midfield players. For the women, it's Atina Bonmati for Barcelona and Spain, and for men's, it's Rodri, who plays for Manchester City and Spain and won the Euro Championships this year. But it's nice that this award has always traditionally been dominated by strikers and wingers and the flashy players that you've definitely heard about. And this year it was won by two players that don't steal the headlines like their attacking counterparts do. Adam, just off the top of your head, and not because we maybe googled this 20 minutes ago, do you know who won the MVP in the Super Bowl last year?
In the Super Bowl, it
Oh,
was
oh
Patrick
no.
Mahomes.
Yes.
In the Super Bowl is Patrick Mahomes. So this is why we had to Google it. In my own defense, why we had to Google this, because I feel like as an American that is like that works in sports for a living, I should know off the top of my head the NFL
Sure.
MVP. And I did know that it was Lamar Jackson. I just forgot that Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl MVP. So it was
So
Lamar Jackson. But to your point, yes, quarterback, to your
yeah,
point, like you don't get defensive players winning it. So it's kind of wild that like I know midfielder isn't necessarily defensive, but that's pretty cool.
yeah. When was the last time like a defensive corner won it? Like
I
there will be a tight end who is the best tight end. But
yeah.
when the MVP or the Ballon d'Or are dominated by strikers, we don't give the recognition that we want to all of the players.
Yeah, I do think it's different in American football versus football. Um because in in American football, you do uniquely have one position that is objectively the most important position on the field. You could argue the same for other positions in football or soccer. Like you could argue goalkeeper is the most important position on the field.
Sure.
Um, but like I do get okay, you have a striker that puts up some flashy goal numbers. Everybody wants to talk about goals, so it makes sense. And I think it's interesting. There's a debate about, or that there could be a debate about that. But I think it makes more sense in soccer to have a Player of the Year award go to somebody who's in the midfield or something where
Yeah.
they're facilitating more, whereas like a quarterback is pretty much making everything happen on a football field.
I think actually you do make a good point, and there is the hole in my argument. Um, but yeah, I think ultimately it was nice and it was refreshing this year to have both awards, male and female, won by midfielders, which I think will change the way that we reflect on this era of football as being less of like an attacker's gauntlet and more of a maybe more of a tactical game, which I'd be excited for. Now, so that was one topical point that happened on Monday. The other big thing that I want to talk about is something that I am enjoying for the first time. And a little bit of an awakening for me, but something that has been a pillar in your life since I'm sure you were a young boy. I'm watching the World Series for the first time, and I have many thoughts. Number one,
I am so happy about this.
I thought it would be more competitive. Then I made the weekend roundup TikTok where I predicted it was definitely going to be over before this evening. And instead, the New York Yankees went and ruined my TikTok by digging themselves out of a 3-0 hole. Are they normally closer than this, Adam? Like, is this a typical World Series that we're getting?
I I wouldn't say it's typical. I mean, we've had we've had in in the past few years or past several years, like we've had series that have been pretty close for the most part. I'm honestly struggling to remember off the top of my head because it's just not how my brain is wired to remember specific series. But
Sure.
um, I it's not unheard of, but especially I think it's unique for this year because these are such heavyweight teams that
Right.
everybody was expecting them to, you know,
With stars,
easy
with
6 7 games.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. Like
and
Major League Baseball, they would never, they're not going to admit it publicly because, nobody has favorite children, but it's a dream matchup, to have your two biggest markets, to have your most marketable stars be in the spotlight, and it's borne out in the TV ratings so far. and it's really exciting. I'm glad that, as much as I'm not a big fan of either team, I'm really excited, for the sport.
I uh the only interaction with baseball I've had before was the day I got this jersey on a family trip to Washington, and the day that you and I got this cup at a Carolina baseball game. So I'd never really paid much attention to it. I know that you have a real love for baseball, um, but yeah, this World Series in particular, those two teams really drew me in, knowing that
Yeah.
it's a showcase for, well, not a showcase, but it's where Shohei Ohtani makes takes the biggest stage against the Yankees, who are easily the most visible baseball team around the world. Reluctantly, I have a Yankees cap hanging up over there. I don't know where
Hmm.
I got it. They just
Hmm.
appear. They are just ubiquitous.
Hmm.
I
Might
know.
have to replace that one.
Also, I don't support the Yankees. I don't support the Washingtons. I think I'm
The wash.
a yeah. Sorry, the
I'm
Nationals.
sorry. I'm
I
really
know
sorry. That was
that was a
rude. I try. I
that
think
was,
as a general rule, you and I do a very good job of not making fun of each other's slips into,
I know.
like, hey, remembering you're from the UK and I'm from the US, but there are some things that just come out of each other's mouths that just scratch a certain itch.
When I was writing the docket earlier, Adam sent me a text telling me how mad he was that I kept calling baseball games baseball matches. So it's the second time today. So it's a real off
Oh,
day.
it was a
I'll take the maps down.
it's
I'm not ready to be an
it's a
American yet.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll keep casually referring to the athletic landscape in the US and around the world as sport, not sports, which, like, isn't as obvious, but
No,
that's
but I
weird
do
here.
like, and
Nobody
I
does that.
appreciate it. Um,
It's code switching, I guess. I don't know.
so the other in the last couple of years, the other sport that I've really blossomed into loving is another bat and ball game, and one that you would be um, far less surprised that me, as the Brit, enjoys more. Um, it's of course cricket. And watching the World Series, I'm seeing far more parallels with cricket than I thought I would. Now, what I want to do is just explore America's relationship with cricket through our resident American. And
It's
then
me
I'm going to
with a baseball.
try. Look at our balls. And then I'm going to try and persuade you, because we've spoken about it a little bit in the past, but I want to try and persuade you that now that the World Series is finishing, there is a place for you in the warm bosom that is cricket. Um, so to kick things off, I would just love if you've got any pre-existing thoughts on what you think, as you as a sports fan, and you think maybe American sports fans in general feel about cricket, because that it does not seem very visible in the US from where I'm sat.
It's not except in certain communities. Like, I
Sure,
know there is a growing there's a league, I think, called Major League Cricket that is sprouted up here. Actually, in North Carolina, more toward where I'm from originally, the Raleigh area. I think actually one of those teams is there, and part of that is because there's a big market for it because there's a large South Asian community in the Raleigh
sure.
area, and that's a sport that a lot of people in that community really embrace. So I coming in to this, I've actually seen more cricket than somebody might think, and that's mostly because of you. But I think my biggest conception coming in was just that it's a weird form of baseball that has only home plate, one base, and then you don't get to use a glove in the outfield. So that was my biggest conception. I, I got to be honest coming in, but
That's
I have, yeah.
your description of baseball with, would you say, home plate, one base, and you can't use a glove in the outfield.
Yeah.
I've tried writing a succinct way of describing cricket to baseball fans, and I didn't come up with anything like that. And I've been writing this docket for a week, so I'm
Well, I
very
mean, well, and
impressed.
part of this is I want to explore like how accurate that is. And like I said, I've watched a little bit of it. I actually successfully got my dad and my sister interested in
Yes.
cricket. The because you and again, all of this comes from you. I when I last visited you over in London,
Yep.
you had like primed me a little bit about cricket, and we watched the Indian Premier League. We
Yes, we
watched some
did.
amateurs play cricket in a park.
Yes, we did.
Um, and I that was really about it. And I took that with me and I saw some TikToks about the rules, found out that the something called the T20 World Cup was
Yep.
happening in the US and
Yep.
watched a little of it with my dad and sister. But again,
Yes.
I don't know a whole lot. I just kind of
That's fine.
intemporary bits. So
That's
please help me
such
as a baseball fan.
such a good starting off point. Um, I want to immediately pick up on cricket in the UK. Like any sport, exists in a really beautiful and romantic linear structure from absolute grassroots, where you and I sat in a park watching just two local teams, neither of which were very good, just slog it out in just park
To
cricket.
me, they looked great. I got to be
Yeah,
honest. I mean,
sure. No, they were horrible. Yeah, and they were just slogging it out on a gorgeous June afternoon. And you know that harkens onto village cricket as well. And then obviously we have county cricket up to internationals. And what I love about cricket, which I think's probably a little bit different from baseball, is different forms of cricket are played at different levels, for
okay.
very good reason. Now, do just, and I haven't primed you with this question. Um,
Okay.
this is out of the blue, and if you don't know this, absolutely fine. Which sport do you think arrived in the US first, baseball or cricket?
Well, I don't know. Hmm. I feel like I feel like cricket is an older. I would imagine cricket's an older game. I'm gonna guess it's cricket just because baseball, like baseball, didn't like land. Baseball developed here
So,
from other games, but
yes, you're spot on. Cricket originated in like the 16th century in the UK, but
oh,
a bat and ball game called baseball also originated in the south of the UK.
what?
Both now it's not exactly the same as what we currently would recognize as baseball, but both started in the UK and both came over with the Pilgrims at the beginning of the the beginning of the founding of the United States, and both
Wow.
games were played in the US through the 19th century. Cricket very popular in communities such as Philadelphia, where there were strong former like English colonies, but actually during the Civil War baseball started to take off because it was so much easier to set up. You don't need the same amount of space. You don't need the same amount of equipment. You don't need the same amount of players. Baseball became a really easy way of keeping troops in the Civil War, mostly northern, but some southern, entertained while they were marching or getting ready for a tussle or whatever. So baseball
Interesting. For a
really
tussle.
takes off. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's as political as we need to get. Um, Now, cricket remained popular in some parts of the US, again through those migrants, but really started to die off. While baseball absolutely took off.
Interesting. So it
Now,
just so I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no, please.
there's cricket kind of dies off at about the same time we think as baseball is starting to grow.
Yep.
Okay. And it's interesting too that baseball takes off during, and I know I know a general amount of history about how baseball began. I didn't know the thing about there being a game called baseball in England before. That's incredible. Um, but it is interesting because have you ever heard like the mythological story about how baseball started?
No. Does it
Okay,
involve
I'll keep
Kevin Costner?
it. It might as well. I mean, what baseball movie worth anything, doesn't have Kevin Costner like Dennis Quaid or something? But I'll keep it brief. The reason that the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum is in Cooperstown, New York, is because
Uh-huh.
it was supposedly thought up by this guy named Abner Doubleday, who was a Civil War general for
Yep.
the Union in New York. And like,
Sure.
so it's fascinating that it's like that can't be a coincidence that's like it's a myth, but that's the
It's
folklore.
well, the game that we know as baseball, I think, can definitely trace its roots to Cooperstown. But we do have there are accounts of a game that would later be called Rounders in the UK, and a game called baseball, spelled
Yeah.
BAS, no E, ball.
Yep.
And just crazy that they both landed and were both being played, and because like they're so similar games, it's interesting that there is
Yeah.
space for both. And as
Sure.
we've seen in the US, there isn't space for both, and we don't play baseball in the UK, which spoiler alert, I wish we did. Um, now
Okay,
one of
continue
the
about cricket though. Sorry, I didn't mean to take us down a rabbit
No,
hole.
no, no. One of the reasons cricket really fell away is because baseball was becoming so popular. Big sort of big movers in cricket were making the switch over. William Harry Wright is an early titan of baseball, and actually established the very first baseball team, the Cincinnati Red Stockings. Dreadful name. Can't believe we get so much stick for English name things, and you're going out calling things the Stockings. So it's fine. We'll move over. And he was the first. He was the first baseball manager to make baseball really a business and started paying players' wages and higher wages than traditional industries would. He was English. He was a fabulous cricketer. And so saw very early on all of the elements of the sport that he loved in cricket were applicable in baseball. So actually, while these two sports were duking it out, every cricketer was already going to be good at baseball. And when baseball took off during the Civil War, cricket started to die a sort of slow death in the UK, and that's fine. Baseball is a
Hmm.
faster game. It's easier to set up, as we said, and that sort of leads us all the way through this story that lands us here with the World Series, which is poorly named, but we let it pass, for baseball, and then the rest of the world, most of the rest. Well, I say most of a huge number, a huge population of people around the world play baseball and admittedly play cricket, and admittedly most of those are in Bangladesh and India. But it's so interesting that we can't fuse fandoms for those in games that I hope to prove to you are actually quite similar. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Like
so
I think overall the point of this is like, why would a baseball fan be interested in cricket?
so fabulous question. Let's play with this on two levels. Being a spectator can be very similar experiences. There's sort of the more casual game; they'd last a little bit longer. How long would a typical baseball game last in the US?
Well, now it's about 2.5, 3 hours.
Sure.
Given that we've added a lot of time saving measures recently, but if you're a game without a pitch clock, it could be 3, 4 hours.
Right. In cricket,
But
we have
can't cricket take like days?
yes. Okay, brilliant.
Am I
We've
getting
just hit
ahead
the
of
turbo.
myself?
No, you've just hit the turbocharge button. Let's go. That's the first. That's the key misconception I really wanted you to land on. Yeah, cricket can take fucking ages. Um, we have three, as I mentioned earlier. There are different forms of cricket played at different levels. Test cricket is the creme de la creme. Test cricket is played only by um, 12 countries in the world, and those are the members of the ICC, the International Cricket Community. That's not right. That can't be right.
Not the International Criminal Court.
No, 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 no. That's in The Hague. Yeah, Test cricket is the highest form of cricket and is only played among the 12 nations who have full membership to the ICC. That's Afghanistan, Australia, Bangladesh, England, India, Ireland, weirdly, New Zealand, Pakistan, South Africa, Sri Lanka, the West Indies, which is a bit of an outdated name, but they love it, and Zimbabwe. Test cricket that is a single match is played over 5 days. Think about
5 days?
the World Series could be done. Our whole World Series could be done faster than Test cricket is played. It's incredible. And here's the thing: we love it. We absolutely love it, Adam, because in a 5 day game, there are so many beautiful tactical nuances that
Okay.
have to take place. In Test cricket, both teams have to bat and field twice. So
Okay.
the first team, let's say you and I are playing, and it's let's say the Nationals and the Pirates are now cricket teams. My Nationals team are going to bat first. We bat for like a day and a half, and we score 300 runs, which is not very good. And you've bowled
That's
the whole
not good.
time.
Well, I guess if you have several days, maybe. But again, I don't have a frame of reference for this. We'll get there.
Exactly. And it's wicked. It's so good. We will bat until you get all of my players out. Now we have 11 players on the team, but you only need to get 10 out because in cricket, unlike baseball, we bat in pairs. So if I'm batting, I have a partner. And as Adam mentioned earlier, I run from basically home plate to first base, which is at the other end of what we call the wicket, which is that brown strip of dead grass. British people are gonna will hunt me down for this. The brown strip of red grass, the brown strip of dead grass in between the two sets of stumps. Now, when you're at the plate in baseball, you're trying to strike the ball in that strike zone, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't strike the ball, it goes through and your catcher gets it. Yeah.
Yep.
Now in cricket, if I'm trying to protect the stumps, and if the ball comes through and hits the stumps, I'm out.
So the stumps. Okay. So the stumps are basically your strike zone,
Yes.
essentially. But
Yeah,
it's
and
like a one
I'm
strike, you're out. So
yeah,
okay, if it's
yeah,
one strike, you're out. And I
yes.
don't want to. I know that you have an order that you've probably laid
No,
this out.
no,
So
let's
feel
do
free
this.
to tell me. Okay. Feel
This
free
is
to whatever.
good.
But there's two things that are hanging me up here.
Mm,
One is that word wicket, what you just
yeah,
told me. I feel like when I've heard of cricket and when I've heard talk of cricket and when I've watched some of it, the
yes,
word wicket is used
yeah.
for many things. Like
It's
it's
used for
not just
so
that.
many things.
And
It's used
that's
for everything.
confusing.
Yes.
Which honestly, the way that like I don't know, that feels I don't know, that just feels like a language thing that is probably so obvious to somebody who like natively understands it, but like
No,
takes a little bit of coaxing for your average,
you're
non-cricket watching baseball fan.
you're so right.
Yeah. So let's start with that. Yeah. Yeah, we can start with that.
The wicket is two things. Basically,
Okay.
we'll for the purposes of this, we will say the wicket is two things. Number one,
Okay.
the wicket is it's the zone that includes the stumps and the dead strip of grass. It's not really dead; it's just been rolled, so it's really flat.
Sure.
And then there are other stumps at the other end. That's a wicket. It's in the
Okay.
middle of the pitch, and the bowler will bowl from one end of the wicket at me. Now, we're going to come back to that. He bowls it. He doesn't throw it. He doesn't pitch it. He has to bowl it. So
Yeah.
that's the first
So
type of
bowling
wicket.
is like your bowler is basically like you're akin to your pitcher in
Yeah,
baseball.
instead of like
Yep.
whipping it like that, like a pitcher would, that was great form. A bowler has
Nice.
to bowl it with a straight arm and release it above his head. Easy. That's
Okay.
a very easy distinction. The other time we use the word wicket is actually when we talk about how many people have been caught or run or struck out. So
Okay.
I would say you've caught three of my players out. You've taken 3 wickets. That's
Okay.
just the simple terminology. Amazing.
Okay, that that I can get behind that.
Ace.
Not that it matters. I don't have to get behind it, but it's going to
No.
happen anyway.
Um.
So the other thing that's hanging me up is you're
Yes.
saying in Test cricket it takes it can take like a day and a half for a team to bat. Is
Yeah.
that
So
okay?
it doesn't
How,
have to.
but okay, if you only go through the lineup one time and then you switch,
Yep.
how does it take a day and a half to get 10 people out?
So
That's wild.
that's another excellent point. Two things. Number one, in Test cricket, it's very uncommon to have like a pitch clock.
Sure.
The lads can take a while bowling the ball. Number two, getting somebody out in cricket, I would say, is a little bit harder than getting somebody out in baseball. There's
Okay.
no such thing as three strikes, for instance. If you bowl the ball at me 3 times and none of those times does it hit the stumps, and none of those times I hit it, you've just wasted 3 bowls. It's fine. Nothing has happened. I'm not out. We don't regurgitate. We don't regenerate the lineup like that. So that's number
Because you
one.
have like a limited number of bowls of pitches. Like you're not like you don't
Yeah,
just get to keep throwing until you get somebody out.
great point. Yeah, uh, a bowler may only bowl 6 times in a row. Then
Wow.
somebody else, someone else, anybody else has to bowl. 6 bowls, 6 balls is called an over. And in
Okay.
Test cricket, it's unlimited overs. You get as many as you want, as many as you can in a lot of circumstances, and it can go on for days. I tried Googling how many balls are played in a typical test match, and the results were so varied, I didn't even bother writing them down. But it's many thousands in a test match. So, I've been in for a day and a half. You've got my 10th guy out. I've made 300 runs. Great news. Now it's your turn. It's like, the second innings or the we've just had the top of the fifth. Now we've got the bottom of the fifth. Now your guys are in. That's great. I'm bowling at you. It takes me 2 days to get you out. And in those 2 days, you score 400 runs. Great news. We're going to swap again. And now I have another go. And in my go, I get another 200 runs. So I have 500 and you have 300. And you were way better at getting me out this time. So now you've got me out and we still have time to play because remember, we're here for a working week. Let's say you now have 2 days to score either the 100 runs or the 101 runs you would need to win,
Okay.
or if I get all of your guys out first, I win.
So really that's like a series tied kind of thing. You
Yes.
go and that's a winner take all. Okay. I can
E-
it almost in that case then feels more like a series than like one
yes.
game.
Except
Okay.
I'm gonna really upset you.
Ooh.
In this scenario, you have 2 days to get 100 runs, and
Okay.
I have to get all of your guys out before you get 101 runs. If you don't get to 100, but I don't get all of your guys out, and the 5th day elapses, we played 5 days for nothing. It's a draw. We've sold thousands and thousands of tickets. We've been on TV for 3 straight days, 3 24-hour periods, and we didn't get a winner.
And
And people
this is
love
the
this.
highest form this is the
We
highest form
love
of the
this.
sport.
Now, highest form of this sport, I'm gonna add a little wrinkle, and this is the last thing you really need to bear with me before this gets easier, Adam. Have you ever heard of the Ashes?
Only because you've told me about
Yeah,
it.
and I love the Ashes. It's my favorite sports event.
Is
Um,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Just
in the
tell.
Ashes, we play 5 tests, which means we play 5 days, five
Uh,
times in a row. And the Ashes are hosted, and they're only competed between Australia and the UK, and it's played every other year, and we swap where we play. So we play in Australia, and then we come over 2 years later and we play in the UK. Those 5 tests take place in different stadiums around Australia, around the
Okay.
UK. It's really nice. It's a really fun time. Those stadiums play
So
slightly differently.
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So can you do it on a cold, rainy night in Stoke or a hot, boiling night in the Outback?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Precisely. Now, and I promise, and I lied to you, I promise this is the last hard bit.
Okay.
If we tie, let's say we had the Ashes and England won the first 2 and then Australia won the second 2. If we tied the 5th one, we tie the whole thing. And that month and a half of cricket, it don't really change anything.
If every one of the tests
Yeah.
ties,
Yeah.
does the sport can we just say we're not doing this anymore?
If we
Did they
tied
just
every
walk away and say
if we
forget this trophy
if we
and
tied
say sorry?
if we tied every one of the tests, many commentators would say it was the best series ever. It would be incredible.
Okay, as somebody who adores a 1-0 pitcher's duel in baseball where both starting pitchers go for all 9 innings, and it's 1-0. I love that. So I
Yes.
can appreciate that. I don't want to sound like a greedy person who's only in it for, an outcome, but man, that's frustrating.
Americans hate draws.
And the only one other thing that I know about the Ashes is the trophy is legendary, is it not?
The trophy is legendary. The trophy is an urn, and like all urns, the urn has literally the ashes of the bales, which are the tiny little sticks on top of the stumps, which you have to knock off to get a wicket. With full circle. Those bales, for the first time England played Australia, were burned and put in the urn. And I'm doing
Wow.
this because the trophy's this big.
Oh my gosh.
Like, you think of the Stanley Cup, which
Incredible.
is like taller than me. The Ashes trophy is comfortably smaller than this. And we love it.
Amazing.
It's the most valuable thing in the world. Okay, thank you so much for bearing with me there, because cricket gets easier, because you're not the only person that thinks that cricket is way too long.
Yeah, like there's the reason that baseball put in the pitch clock is because people just weren't watching it in the
Yes,
age of 47-second attention spans.
yes. And unfortunately, 40-second attention spans are a ubiquitous worldwide problem. And cricket has also adapted. So, Test cricket, unlimited overs, right? Can be a
Sure.
million balls. There is
Sure.
something called limited over cricket, which is,
Okay.
those other 2 forms of cricket we were talking about. There is List A, which is 50 overs each, which is
Okay.
300 balls. That is played over several hours, but is done in a day.
Okay.
Hey, it's better.
Okay.
It's better than 5 days. It's better than a
Yeah, that's
month.
better.
Then
Sounds
there
great.
is
Just put any limit on it. Yeah.
then there is 2020, which is exactly as
Okay.
it sounds, is 20 overs. That's what the IPL is, what you and I watched. It's
Okay.
more, it's hard to describe any cricket as high octane, but 2020 is done in like 3 or 4 hours, like a
It was
baseball
pretty
game.
high octane. It
It was
looked
good.
it. That was some of the most fun I've had
There was fire.
watching sports.
There were
Yeah.
like pyrotechnics. Now,
Yeah.
T20, 20 overs, that is 120 balls. That's pretty fast. And we've been playing T20 internationally. We have the T20 World Cup that just happened in the US. it's played in the IPL, which is many see as like the gold standard for T20 cricket in the world, and yet T20 still isn't quick enough. So
Mm.
what we've done, I say we, as Brits, we've invented a last limited over game, and this is what I really love, and what me and my friends have really enjoyed in the UK since sort of 2021, when I think the first season was. We have something called the 100. Now, yeah, straight away, the 100, as the name suggests, that's just 100 balls. Also, the overs, we only have 5 balls an over. So 5 balls before everybody changes and you get a new pitcher. Pitcher. Oh my
Oh.
God. Don't tell my dad I said that. We got a new bowler. It's quicker. The 100 is a 2 hour game, which is
Whoa.
about as much time as you would spend at a football match. And it's played in the
Yeah.
back end of the summer when there's no football on. So it really, it's done a really good job of summoning both traditional cricket fans and fans that have that shorter attention span, like baseball did with the pitch clock. Like most sports have really tried to energize. So
I
there is hope. Go on.
I can picture the old probably old dudes,
Yes.
old dudes on like Facebook and Twitter when that started, just
Uh
being
huh.
like, "Ah, that's not real cricket." Ah. Like I can just picture the curmudgeons on that
You're
one, but that sounds very fun.
you're so correct. Um,
Yeah,
However, many of the slightly more cognizant old white men who enjoy traditional cricket have been aware enough to point out that if the sport does not adapt and does not continue to have the viewership from younger viewers, it will start to sort of move away from the public consciousness. Now, obviously, around the world, cricket is huge, but specifically in England, viewership
yeah.
numbers were dropping for smaller games. So I think the 100's a brilliant idea. Also,
It
it's
sounds like a
what
great
got
way to spend an afternoon.
it's an and next time you are in London, we will be doing it, so long as you're here in
Incredible.
July or August. Um, and it transformed me into a cricket fan, and now I relish watching Test matches because, as I said earlier, there's a beautiful tactical nuance to it that we will discuss in 50 episodes time. I will never make you talk about, I promise I won't make you talk about cricket for at least a year.
Yeah.
But I hope I've shown you, as an American who is a fan of baseball, we have elements that are very, very similar to baseball that can be, I think, enjoyed in similar ways. The rules are
Yeah.
actually mostly the same.
I was so that's another piece. I think there's two pieces here because again the big thing about this is to try to link baseball fans to cricket.
Yeah,
Hopefully make some baseball fans into cricket fans as well.
sure,
I think two things that people really enjoy about baseball are big batter pitcher matchups. So when
sure.
you've got Garrett Cole, the number one pitcher for the Yankees, going up against Shohei Ohtani. Everybody
Uh
loves
huh.
that. Paul Skeens for the Pirates.
Who else?
The Pirates are a terrible team, but Paul Skeens is like the most exciting young pitcher in the game, and genuinely, I'm not saying that as a
No,
homer
sure.
biased Pirates fan. It's just it's true. Um, some of the most viral moments were him going against the heart of the Yankees order with Aaron
Uh huh.
Judge and Juan Soto and Giancarlo Stanton and getting them all out. And anyway, those matchups are so exciting.
Yeah.
I think between that and the fact that baseball attending a baseball game is seen as a very fun, relaxed, picnicky kind of atmosphere.
Sure.
Going to a football game in America is, more rough and tumble, rowdier. I know that can also very much be the case in soccer. And
Uh huh.
I mean, it's something that's the parallels of fandom in American football and soccer is something I could wax poetic about for a while. I love it so much.
Uh huh.
But is there a similar dynamic there? With the
Yeah.
batter pitcher matchup, bowler batter matchup, and
Yes.
the atmosphere.
Yes. Atmosphere first. As I said,
Okay.
this is played from village level up to test cricket. It's always a um more relaxed, family friendly. It's cricket is a fair weather game. It's always a nice day. Yeah, like some people drink a lot at a cricket game, but it's an incredibly sociable sport to attend in a way that sometimes football isn't. I wouldn't take a casual friend of mine to a football match, sit in a rowdy section, and then not be able to hear them when I'm trying to have a conversation because people are singing around us. That happens less at a cricket game. Um, the matchup point you make, yes. Um, when we have specialist bowlers like the late great Shane Warne, who was one of the most ingenious spin bowlers. There are two types of bowlers. We have spin and we have speed.
Okay.
A spin bowler, like in baseball, throws the ball, and because in bowling the ball normally touches the ground, if it touches the ground with spin, it bounces and goes all these different ways. Shane Warne was an artist at unlocking even the best cricketers. And then you've got players like the recently retired Alistair Cook, who's English, who until he was like in his 40s was bowling the ball at like 90 miles an hour.
Oh wow.
Which remember the wickets a little bit shorter than the baseball mound is to the batter in baseball. You know, we do have these incredible matchups, and you've got players that specialize in batting, and players that specialize in bowling, but they have to do both at some point.
Sure.
Yeah, the opportunity for the really big matchups is huge, but also unlike the pitcher that you mentioned, the bowler can only bowl 6 balls and then has to go
Oh
away.
yeah.
So his window
Yeah.
for unlocking the batsman is smaller. So you double stack two good bowlers. And remember, they're playing with the same ball. The ball weathers. So the ball is often better for speed bowlers at one period of the game and better for spin bowlers when it's been roughed up, or vice
That's
versa. Yeah.
wow.
So if you played with like your Shane Warne spin bowler and then you had a speed bowler, a fast bowler as we call them, then the batsman really struggles to adapt to those differences. However,
Wow.
it's in a structured framework so that the batter knows that the next one will be different.
But they
So yeah,
use they use one ball.
we have the ball changes after a certain amount of time. I think. I don't think it's a certain number of balls. You can request a ball. For some reason, I think it's 4 hours, but I think I think that's different. I'd have to
Wow.
check that.
Do you
I'll put that in
if
the
you're a
show notes.
fan and you catch if you're a fan and you catch a 6, because I know what that is, or a
Yes,
4,
good.
um, when the
Give
ball
it back.
basically goes over the fence, you give it
Yeah,
back.
you give that back. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
people will
wow.
shout at you. Yeah. For no, seriously,
That's
they'll come and get it.
wild.
That in red ball cricket, which is Test cricket, which is only played during the day, we don't tend to play red ball cricket under floodlights. Yeah, that ball belongs to the bowler, and he's going to be really upset. Like
Interesting.
people have stolen them and like got them and run away, but yeah, you catch it. Hey, I'm on, I'm on the TV. Yeah, it's wicked. Throw that back.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's wild, and it's interesting because there's different reasons for that, and we don't have to get too deep into it because I know we're running,
sure.
we're running long on time here, but, um, we have so baseball, obviously, like, I forget what the number is of, like, the amount of pitches on average that a Major League Baseball, gets used in. I know it used
Uh,
to go
No,
ahead.
I have a
Do you have
different
the
number.
answer?
I googled something
Oh.
else,
Oh.
a bit of trivia that I wanted to know from you, but I couldn't find a decisive answer. So yeah, I'm
Oh,
talking about
okay.
something else.
Well, I think the average number of pitches in a Major League Baseball game that one single ball used was like I think it used to be 7, and I'm almost certain that's gone down. Um, for a
That's
myriad of reasons. But the reason for that is it actually comes down to a safety issue. And I imagine that this is less of an issue in cricket because the batters wear like a full cage and wear like all this protective gear.
yeah.
But in baseball, like you've got a helmet and, you know, guys will wear elbow pads and, wrist
Uh-huh.
guards, that kind of thing. Um, but there's been some close calls with people, but anyway, the reason that they started standardizing the ball is actually because I think it was in 1920 a player died, and
Oh,
they started
Jesus.
making it a lot of the reason for that was it was before, you played under lights. It was getting, late. The ball had been used so many times. It went from this white color to, being covered in dirt and spit and tobacco and
Wow.
all sorts of nasty stuff. And at a certain point, it just became very hard to see as a batter.
Wow.
And this was before the age of helmets. But this guy got hit in the head and he died. Um,
Christ.
and so, like, it is a huge part of baseball is that the ball is not, it is not something that is sacred in terms of its
Wow.
individuality, unless it's, a milestone or something. But like this one has a bunch of discoloration and a lot of scuffs. This would never ever be used in a game. This like never.
That's
Um,
not a game ball.
I mean, it was at one point, but it's got like somebody's hit. This ball's hit the ground several times. I think I've
Uh-huh.
thrown this before, and it's hit like concrete. That's why it's like kind of torn. But if it had scuffs on it, like this, the umpire, like you'll see when the umpire gets a ball, he'll look at it, and if he sees something wrong with it, he'll just throw it to the side.
That's mad. That's madness. This is a
Yeah.
cricket ball I accidentally stole from my dad, who plays village cricket. As you can see, it's very shiny. It's not
Wait,
supposed to
hold
be.
hold it up more toward the middle. I'm having trouble seeing it.
Oh, sorry. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
You see how it's not at all smooth? How
Yeah.
it's just covered in little pits and craters. It's because this
Wow.
ball's probably seen a couple hundred bat strikes.
Wow.
And you said yours
That's
was used in seven
wild.
pitches. That's a crazy difference that I didn't know.
Yeah, and I
Um,
can't wait to because fun fact, you gave my dad you gifted my dad a cricket ball. He will be
I did.
fascinated to hear that. I am
Yeah.
very excited to tell him that,
Also,
or for him to maybe watch it. Hey, Dad, if you're watching.
the 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 ball I gave your dad has like some gorgeous golden writing on it.
Hmm.
That is knocked off the ball within like 30 minutes, and
Yeah,
then it's this like dull apple color. But yeah, that is all I've got for you, Adam.
that you've
I've tried to convert you, not fully, but I hope that I've given you a fresh perspective and a new appreciation for cricket.
you definitely have. And I am, I'm eager to watch it, grow too. I enjoy it. Like I said, this isn't my introduction to the sport, but it's the
Sure,
deepest dive I've taken into it, and we obviously didn't go over rules or anything, or what the actual what the structure of the field looks like, that
sure,
kind of thing. But I think just it's one of those things, sort of like I tell people, um, and a lot of people tell people about hockey,
yeah,
is go watch a game
yeah,
and have some rules behind it, because it is hard to get it unless you have somebody explaining the rules.
sure.
Cricket especially, I would say. But
I am
yeah,
available.
it's fun. You
Yeah.
we ought to set up a cameo for you. People can
Oh no,
pay
I
you.
will. No, I'll travel to the US. And
Oh, okay.
literally any excuse.
Perfect. Perfect.
Adam,
Amazing. Okay. So I think now this means, unless you have anything else, I
no.
think this means it's time for my turn at challenging you
Oh
in our
no.
favorite segment,
Oh
sport
no.
math.
It's sports math
Not
time.
sports. Sport math, sports math, whatever. But sport math. I am so excited. So,
I'm nervous. Oh,
I've cooked one up for you. I think you've got a good shot. I really do.
would you remind everyone
Yes.
what this segment is?
Yes, so this segment is we'll take I think we can be a little bit loose with it, but
Sure.
overall it will be some sports trivia that distills down to some numbers that will have some operations behind, and you'll have to tell us, is this number is this number greater than, less than, or equal to, another number, or just here's a trivia question that distills down to a number. Here's another one
Sure.
that distills to another number. Put some math operations around it and tell us what the answer is. So it's
Okay.
a little bit of math, a little bit of sports trivia, way more sports trivia than math, thankfully for me. Okay, so I think last time we did it, we split it up. You gave me points for getting
Yes.
different parts of the answer right. So what we're gonna do is I I wasn't able to figure out how to make this one split evenly. So we're gonna make the points a little bit arbitrary here.
Okay, fine.
But I'll say the question
Okay,
and then we'll go over some points. All right.
sure. I'm
The
so
question
nervous. This is
is the
silly.
following. Is the number of F1 World Drivers' Championships won by a German driver greater than, less than, or equal to the number of 2024-2025 Premier League clubs east of the city of Sheffield?
Firstly, excellent, incredible question. That's a lot of geography.
It is a lot of
All right.
yeah, it's kind of mean.
No, no, no.
Um,
This is excellent.
but
Okay, so
it's fine.
Prem
Okay.
teams. You said Premier League teams east of.
Yes. Of Sheffield, the city of
God,
Sheffield. Not
east of.
like not a club within Sheffield, just like the city of Sheffield. Not that I'm going to ask you to like get the latitude and
Sure.
longitude exactly right, but
The way I did the points last week was I gave you 3 points if you got absolutely everything right, and
yeah.
1 point if I only got the. But I like this, and I like how the points are arbitrary.
Maybe we just make the points arbitrary entirely because
Yeah,
I don't think it.
this is
I
worth
got it
more
right last
points.
time.
This is
Yeah,
worth
this would
more
be.
points.
Yeah. So you know what? Forget it. Well, how about
All right.
you do it and then I'll judge how many points you get based on what I feel like.
Okay. I've written down as many German Formula One drivers as I can remember having
Okay.
won the World Championship.
Okay.
And I've. Oh, wait. It's the number of championships, right?
The championships, not the
Okay.
drivers.
Right. So
Bonus points if you
I've.
can tell me the years they won. It's not 0.
That's tough. What? How? No, no, no. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, right. I'm a little bit worried because I've only got 3 German drivers.
Okay.
If there is another one,
Yeah, that would throw you off, wouldn't it?
it would throw me off. But
Quite a
I
bit.
know if there's another one, they won't. I don't think I will have missed more than 1 or 2 championships.
Okay.
God's sakes. So the 3 I've got are Nico Rosberg.
Okay. That's right.
Thank you. I know. Sebastian Vettel and
That's right.
Michael Schumacher.
Oh, that's wrong. Michael Schumacher actually never won an F1 World Drivers'
Oh
Championship.
no! Oh no! I
Yes, you've gotten
also
the drivers correct. Now the challenge to you.
I I
I will give you that because yeah, it would throw you. It would throw you
is
off.
that they're just 3.
Yeah, it's just 3. That I don't
Okay.
know why I just gave that to you. I am bad at this, but I was great at coming up with the question. That
It's
was
a
it.
really good question. Okay. I know how many championships Rosberg won
Okay.
because he won 1. And then he retired like a king. I know Michael
I'm not giving you
Schumacher.
any more confirmation either way.
Oh, I was playing for it. Right. I think Michael Schumacher won 7. And I think Sebastian Vettel won 4 or 5. So if Vettel won 4, and I've got a stinking feeling it's 5, that would be 12 or 13. Are there more than 12 or 13 clubs east of Sheffield?
East of Sheffield.
Such a
Man, I bet you
vicious.
wish you had a map of your country now, didn't you?
Don't
To
have a
tell
map of
you.
my country. Oh God, I've only got America. There's nothing in here that's at all English. Right, so east of Sheffield, I'm gonna flip that and count off the ones that I know are West, which would be both.
And how many Premier League clubs are there?
There are 20.
There you
Yes,
go.
that's a good point. So both Manchester teams, um, both Liverpool teams. Live. Uh, I'm pretty confident Birmingham is east of Sheffield.
Okay.
And Birmingham, oh my day, this is a really good question. Birmingham contributes Aston Villa and Wolverhampton Wanderers. And I don't think there's any other Premier League teams at the moment from Birmingham. So at the
Okay.
moment, that's six, which
6 that you
would
think are West.
six that I think are west of Sheffield,
Okay. Okay.
which would mean there are six. Sorry, that would mean that there are 14 east of Sheffield.
Okay.
However, there are, I think, God, I don't know about Leicester. I'm really unsure about Leicester. I'm sure Newcastle is east, and I'm pretty sure London is east. And that takes out a bunch of them.
I was gonna say if it
If
that's gonna
if
change the answer a lot.
it does by quite a lot, by a crippling amount. If London is east, Brighton is also east. So, if I guess that Leicester, oh, where's Leicester? God, Adam, this is such a good question. Is because then all we need to talk about is Leicester, Bournemouth, and Southampton. And Southampton, I don't think is east of. I think Southampton is east of Sheffield, but I think Bournemouth probably isn't.
Okay.
All right, you know what? Just for the, I'm gonna say Bournemouth
I was gonna say because
is,
we're gonna need a
but
number at some
Leicester
point.
isn't. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are West. So that's 13. Oh, for God's sakes! And I think Vettel won. Oh God, I hate it. Oh God, where's Nottingham?
I'm putting a 1-minute timer on this
Yeah, that's
because
totally valid. Oh,
you've
I didn't
listed
think.
out
Oh,
you've listed out all the pieces on the table. Now you got to put
yeah,
them
you're
together.
right.
And is the number of F1 champions greater than, less than, or equal to the number of Premier
Oh,
League
equal
clubs?
to is an option.
Equal to as an option.
Okay, fine. I'm gonna make my bed and lie in it. I think the answer is it is equal.
Okay.
That is my answer, and I'm fine with being
What
wrong.
what number did you have for those?
13 for both.
So you get a half congratulations because you were right on the main question. It is equal.
But
Woo!
it's not
But
13.
it's not 13. It is 12.
No, I gave Vettel one more than he earned.
You gave him one more. He only won 4. Ugh, only 4 World Drivers'
Only
Championships.
four.
Only
Um,
4. Michael Schumacher won in 1994, 1995, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, and 2004. The
yeah,
Ferrari one's like, yeah, Vettel won every title between 2010 and 2013,
yep,
and Rosberg won in 16.
60, yep.
So
Okay, I
that's
would have
that at
got
12.
yeah.
Yeah. So the Premier League clubs that are east of Sheffield
Oh, that's
are
such a good question.
Southampton, Leicester, Nottingham Forest, Brentford, Fulham, Chelsea, Arsenal, Crystal Palace, Tottenham, Brighton, West Ham, and Ipswich.
Ipswich.
Forgot about the Anglicans, didn't
Forgot
you?
about the East Anglians. Oh, that's
It's all right.
such a good
Up the
question.
Canaries.
I want you to know there will be retribution. Your next sport math
Oh
question will
yeah, I
be
turned
as
the screen.
dastardly.
I
In
asked for
geography,
something miserable.
here's the crazy thing. If that were an American geography question, I would have nailed it. My
Oh, I
English
believe it.
geography, my English geography is so poor. Oh,
Which is
right. Okay.
hilarious because see these two maps behind me? North Carolina and North Carolina? Your country is the size of these freaking places.
Oh, right, Adam. Oh, a great question,
Unreal.
and an excellent way of rounding out today's episode. Um, yeah, I can't wait to drop in. I would really love if at some point we could discuss maybe an American sport that's not um that maybe isn't fully appreciated by the British.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that's going to be all from us today. Remember, please go and check out Athlantic on TikTok, where we post a little bit more regularly.
Yes.
And yeah, we hope to see you for episode 4 of Athlantic coming very soon. Thank you
And
very
like
much,
and
Adam.
subscribe here on YouTube.
I always forget that
Yeah.
bit. Nice one. Have a great evening, Adam, and we'll see everybody soon.
Bye, y'all.